All right, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Let's take our hymn books and let's go over to 595. 595, and we'll get started here tonight. A little bit of Bible study and a little bit of prayer together. 595. Thy word is a lamp to my feet, a light to my path alway, to guide and to save me from sin, and show me the heavenly way. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. That I might not sin, that I might not sin, thy word have I hid in my heart. Forever, O Lord, is thy word, established and fixed on the high. For faithfulness unto all men abideth forever nigh. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. That I might not sin, that I might not sin, thy word have I hid in my heart. At morning and noon and at night, I ever will give thee praise. For thou art my portion, O Lord, and shalt be through all my days. Thy word have I hid in mine heart, that I might not sin against thee. That I might not sin, that I might not sin, thy word have I hid in mine heart. Through him foretold, the Savior and morning star, salvation and peace have been brought to those who have strayed afar. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. That I might not sin, that I might not sin, thy word have I hid in my heart. All right, great. We'll take some song requests. If you have a favorite song, we can sing it tonight. You know, like favorite one that's in the book. Yeah. 275. Okay. 275. Mm-hmm. The mercies of God, what a theme for my song. Oh, I never could number them o'er. They're more than the stars in the heavenly dome, or the sands of the wave-beaten shore. For mercy so great, what return can I make? For mercy so constant and sure. I'll love him, I'll serve him with all that I have, as long as my life shall endure. They greet me at morn when I waken from sleep, and they gladden my heart at the noon. They follow me on into shades of the night, when the day with its labor is done. For mercy so great, what return can I make? For mercy so constant and sure. I'll love him, I'll serve him with all of my heart, as long as my life shall endure. His angels of mercy encompass me round, wheresoever my pathway shall lead. Of the road some new token reveals, oh, for me life is blessed indeed. For mercy so great, what return can I make? For mercy so constant and sure. I'll love him, I'll serve him with all that I have, as long as my life shall endure. His goodness and mercy will follow me still, even on to the end of the way. I have his sure promise, and that cannot fail, for his mercy endureth forever. For mercy so great, what return can I make? For mercy so constant and sure. I'll love him, I'll serve him with all that I have, as long as my life shall endure. All right, another song. Kim? 717. Lord, I want to be a Christian in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be a Christian in my heart, in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be a Christian in my heart. Lord, I want to be more loving in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be more loving in my heart, in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be more loving in my heart. Lord, I want to be more holy in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be more holy in my heart, in my heart, in my heart. Lord, to be like Jesus in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be like Jesus in my heart, in my heart, in my heart. Lord, I want to be like Jesus in my heart. Good, another song. Okay, let me find 809. My heart can sing when I pause to remember a heartache here is but a stepping stone along a trail that's winding always upward. This troubled world is not my final home. But until then, my heart will go on singing. Until then, with joy I'll carry on. Until the day mine eyes behold the city. Until the day God calls me home. The things of earth will dim and lose their value if we recall they're borrowed for a while. And things of earth that cause the heart to tremble, remembered there, will only bring a smile. But until then, my heart will go on singing. Until then, with joy I'll carry on. Until the day mine eyes behold the city. Until the day God calls me home. This weary world, with all its toil and struggle, may take its toll of misery and strife. The soul of man is like a waiting falcon. When it's released, it's destined for the skies. But until then, my heart will go on singing. Until then, with joy I'll carry on. Until the day my eyes behold the city. Until the day God calls me home. All right, great singing. Thank you. Let's take your Bibles tonight and let's get into God's Word in 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel, we're going to walk through some of the life of Saul and just kind of study this first anointed king of Israel. Thank you for playing for us. I like to sing through the hymn book, and it's nice to have you play. Of course, I like Candy's playing too, and I like Gail's playing too. Yeah, but anyway, I appreciate that. Okay, 1 Samuel, and let's start here in chapter 9. Okay, so where are we at in 1 Samuel? This is if we if we just kind of zoom out, right? You've turned over to 1 Samuel chapter 9, and if we zoom out, this is a stage in the Old Testament narrative. This is a stage of the Israelites that they have gone through quite a bit, okay? But there's still quite a bit of story, quite a bit of events that are going to happen. Way before even Jesus comes, way before God became flesh, was born of a virgin, miraculously lived without sinning and went to the cross for our sin and shed his precious pure blood to wash away our sins, went to the grave, and 3 days later rose again by his power and conquered death, and now offers us everlasting life through that. This is way back to the book of Samuel. So the children of Israel, let's see, just quickly here, kind of let us know where we're at, right? There's Abraham. Abraham was just called of God in a special way. Abraham believed God. It was counted to him for righteousness, and he left family and home and went to a land where he was told to go, and really had an amazing walk with the Lord. His son Isaac, a special son, his son Jacob. Jacob has 12 sons, right? The 12 tribes of Jacob. Jacob is also named Israel by God. So the 12 sons of Israel, or 12 tribes of Israel, then they go to Egypt for 400 some years, and then they're brought out of Egypt by God. God has Moses come and help them, and then God leads them out of Israel. They wander in the wilderness after their disobedience and unbelief to go into the land, and then wander there for 40 years. Then Joshua and Caleb are able to take them into the land, conquer much of the land. And now here we are where Joshua has been dead, and then the people that served with Joshua were kind of holding the fort down. Now they're dead. Then the Lord has to raise up some judges that kind of come through and take care of them. Now after that, and we had the book of Joshua, then the book of Judges. Now we're in 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel is brought on pretty quickly by just the story of Hannah and Elkanah, who have this son Samuel, and some of the events of his life, which lead us right into Saul. Now if we pick up just before chapter 9, here we have in verse 20 of chapter 8, the people are wanting a king. Let's go actually to verse 19. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, "Nay, but we will have a king over us." Verse 20, that we may also be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us, and go out before us, and fight our battles. They had a pretty pharisaical view of having a king and having the king take care of all their problems. Verse 21, and Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he rehearsed them in the ears of the Lord. I like that. Samuel, go to the Lord and tell the Lord, bring it to the Lord. Verse 22, and the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto their voice, and make them a king. And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, go ye every man unto his city. Okay, so chapter 9 kicks off here with an introduction of a man named Saul. Here it says in chapter 9, verse 1, now there was a man of Benjamin. So this is the tribe. This is the one of the 12 sons of Jacob, one of the 12 sons of Israel. None of those original 12 sons were still alive. This is generations past, but this is the tribe. He's of Benjamin, whose name was Kish. Well, this is Saul's father. Kish, the son of Abiel, the son of Zeror, the son of Bechoreth, the son of Aphiah, a Benjamite, a mighty man of power. And he had a son. So Kish had a son whose name was Saul, a choice young man, and a goodly. And this is not an opinion. Okay, this is not opinion. This is truth. This is God's narrative here telling us about Saul. He was goodly. He was choice. He was young. All those things were true. And there was not among the children of Israel a goodlier person than he. Now, I think there's a connotation of attractiveness here, but a goodlier person than he. From his shoulders and upward, he was higher than any of the people. So just to look at Saul, he already had the physical attributes of a good leader, right? Everybody was ready to do what he said just by looking at him. Good. The Lord gave him that. That's wonderful. Verse 3, and the asses of Kish, Saul's father, were lost. And Kish said to Saul, his son, take now one of the servants with thee, arise, go and seek the asses. This is good. I'm going to send Saul. He's taller than everybody else. Go look for my animals. And it says, he passed through Mount Ephraim and passed through the land of Shalisha, but they found them not. Then they passed through the land of Shalim, and there they were not. And he passed through the land of the Benjamites, but they found them not. And when they were come to the land of Zuph, this is sometimes I think maybe Dr. Seuss was reading some Old Testament narratives or something before he made up the rhymes. But this isn't Dr. Seuss. This is real. This is the Bible here. We're reading the Bible. When they were come to the land of Zuph, Saul said to his servant that was with him, come and let us return, lest my father leave caring for the asses and take thought for us. Well, that's nice. Saul knew that his dad cared for him more than he did for 3 animals. And let's go back. My dad's probably going to start worrying. Verse 6, and he said unto him, behold, now there is in this city a man of God, and he is an honorable man. You would think that would be kind of a given, the man of God being an honorable man, but here that's just added to make sure that we know. And this, of course, he was talking about Samuel. He's an honorable man, and here it says, all that he saith surely cometh surely to pass. Now let us go thither, peradventure he can show us our way that we should go. Then said Saul to his servant, but behold, if we go, what shall we bring the man? For the bread is spent in our vessels, and there is not a present to bring to the man of God. What have we? And the servant answered Saul again and said, behold, I have here at hand the 4th part of a shekel of silver. That will I give to the man of God to tell us our way before time in Israel. When a man went to inquire of God, thus he spake, come and let us go to the seer. For he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer. Okay, great. So the seer, now we call them prophets. Then said Samuel to his servant, well said. A good idea. You got a quarter piece of a shekel of silver. Great. Well said. Let's go. Come, let us go. So they went unto the city where the man of God was. Okay, and as they went up the hill to the city, they found young maidens going out to draw water, and said unto them, is the seer here? Okay, so here's how the narrative goes. The ladies are coming out to the well. They're drawing water, and they answered them and said, behold, he is before you, make haste now, for he came today to the city. For there is a sacrifice of the people today in the high place. And verse 13 says, as soon as ye be come into the city, ye shall straightway find him, for he goeth up to the high place to eat. For the people will not eat until he come, because he doth bless the sacrifice, and afterwards they eat that be bidden. Now therefore get you up, for about this time you shall find him. So in other words, he just got into the city. You'll find him there. Go ahead, go right now. You can be confident about finding him. Verse 14. And they went up into the city, and when they were come into the city, behold, Samuel came out against them for to go up to the high place. Now, the Lord had told Samuel in his ear a day before Saul came, saying, tomorrow, about this time, I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin, and thou shalt anoint him to be captain over my people Israel, that he may save my people out of the hand of the Philistines. For I have looked upon my people, because their cry is come unto me. Now, God had told Samuel to do something, and we don't have this before. Samuel, as a prophet, is going out to anoint somebody to be captain, to be a military captain and king. The word king is not used here yet. And if you look there in verse 16, the word that is used here as a verb, right, anoint, that is the word that you'll find in other scriptures. Here the verb form, the root of it's the same. That is the word Messiah. Okay? And so the technical and root definition of Messiah is anointed one. Anointed one. Chosen one. And so that is that God chose Saul specifically. He was anointed. And of course, we realize that in a limited sense, Saul is chosen, anointed to be king, anointed to save the people out of a situation here with the Philistines, as it says right there. He will save my people out of the hand of the Philistines. And so there's a kind of a shadow of what a king should be, what a captain should be, what a savior should be here. And, you know, when you look at some of these kings that were also military heroes, you can kind of understand a little bit better. It's not really an excuse or defending them for missing all the rest of the Old Testament prophecy, but you can kind of understand where somebody would get the root idea that when the Messiah comes, when the anointed one comes, we will make him king, right? When the anointed one comes, he's going to come and save the people. And even with all these Old Testament narratives in mind, it makes sense that when you're oppressed by Romans, that you would say, hey, he'll save the people. When the Messiah comes, he'll save the people from the oppressors. So I can kind of understand that's just a natural view of the Messiah coming, right? But instead, he shall save the people from their sin, right? Jesus did come and to seek and to save. He was the anointed one, the chosen one, the Messiah, the king, the priest, the everything that we need to save us, not just from the oppression of a country, but from our own sin and from the curse of sin, and conquered that completely. So this is just a small little portion of what would go together to make up the outlook, or to make up the Messiah. And so this is a little piece of that. The anointed one, Messiah. We're going to anoint Saul to be captain over my people. So he had whispered that. He had told that in, not necessarily whisper, I guess, but told Samuel in his ear a day before. So this is great. Samuel it was probably on his mind a whole lot, you know. This is, wow, God told me there's going to be a Benjamite. I'm going to anoint him to be captain over Israel. Wow, this is going to change everything. I wonder how people are going to respond. I wonder what's going to happen. Okay, so he's probably been looking for him all day. Verse 17, when Samuel saw Saul, that's a tongue twister. When Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said unto him, behold the man whom I spake to thee of, this same shall reign over my people. Right? It's probably kind of like Samuel turns and sees this, man who already looks like a king, and if they were, if there was a spotlight or something, it probably would have been shining on Saul at that moment. No spotlights in the Bible here, but Samuel's like, "Yo, that's him," and then God says, "That's him." Oh yeah, it is. I can tell. That's him. Samuel kind of says something similar when he's told to go up to see Jesse's sons, and he's going to anoint one of them the next king of Israel's, right? And who does he see? Eliab or something? And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's him. I've been here. I know. Okay, I can tell the next king when I look at him." But that wasn't the same situation here. David was meant to be anointed then. Okay, so verse 18. Then Saul drew near to Samuel in the gate and said, "Tell me, I pray thee, where the seer's house is?" And Samuel answered Saul and said, "I am the seer." Okay, I am the seer. And this is interesting. Have you ever been in this situation where you know a little bit about somebody and they're looking for you and that kind of thing? Samuel gets to be a part of that. God's told me all about you and all this. And I love the dialogue here. Samuel answered Saul and said, "I am the seer. Go up before me unto the high place, for ye shall eat with me today. And tomorrow I will let thee go, and I will tell thee all that is in thine heart." Right? And so Saul is probably, actually, all I wanted to do is give you this fourth piece of, and I just need to know where but he says, go do this, go up, we're going to eat, or we're going to spend the day together. Tomorrow I'm going to tell you. Verse 20, "And as for thine asses that were lost 3 days ago, set not thy mind on them, for they are found." Whoa, all of a sudden, if he didn't before, he's got Saul's attention now. Whoa, who told you about God told him about that. "For they are found," and here's the next statement, "and on whom is all the desire of Israel." This is a way of saying, you have been looking for your father's animals. The entire nation of Israel has been looking for somebody. And guess what? He's found too. "Is it not on thee and on all thy father's house?" Whoa, wait a minute. I just wanted to know where my animals were. Saul didn't know that this was going to be an amazing day like this. Verse 21, "And Saul answered and said," now this is I take this as a good bit of humility here. Saul says, "Am not I a Benjamite, of the smallest of the tribes of Israel, and my family the least of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin? Wherefore then speakest thou so to me?" So Saul doesn't know what to do because of what he's saying. He doesn't understand. Why would you say that about me? Why would you say that about me? So even with a little bit of physical height, a little bit of stature that can really support the type of leadership he's about to step into, he still has this humility here. Now, the smallest of the tribes of Benjamin, if you remember, and we can go back here to just a few chapters, well, actually cross over the book of Ruth, but at the end of Judges, you remember what happened with Benjamin at the end of Judges? It's kind of a strange story. Remember, there was a man, has this concubine. They go through this area, and these men basically attack, and then he basically lets them have his concubine, and then she's dead, and then he's so outraged that he sends packages of, the woman all throughout all the land of Israel, and they all show up. Like, what's going on? Like, this is how you get everyone's attention. By the way, Saul must have known this story, because later on, when Saul has to get everybody's attention, remember, he does the same thing with a cow. He cuts it up and sends it everywhere and says, if you all don't show up, this is what's going to happen to your animals. And they all show up. Like, what do we need to do? Anyway, if you want to get somebody's attention, just send them, pieces of chopped flesh, and they'll probably come and ask you what's going on. If you go back, though, to Judges 20, it's not just that part of the story, which is kind of a story that makes you cringe a little bit, but in chapter 20 and verse in the first few verses, he tells the story, recaps the story for the men. And in verse 8, it says, all the people arose as one man, saying, we will not, any of us, go into his tent. Neither will we, any of us, turn into his house. But now this shall be the thing which we will do to Gibeah. Gibeah is that town, the Benjamites, the Gibeonites specifically of Benjamin, were really wicked. And they say in verse 9, we will go up by lot against it. We're going to go up against the Gibeonites. We're going to take arms. We're going to fight. These Israelites, they were fighters. They took care of business even before they got into Canaan land with a few of the nations. Before they had to cross, then they in unbelief they didn't cross, even though Caleb and Joshua told them, hey, here we go, this is what God is talking about, God's going to be with us. That unbelief had a fruit of fear and had a fruit of all kinds of things. They didn't want to go. Then Moses tells them, oh, because you didn't want to go, you're gonna die in the wilderness. Then the next morning they were up and ready to go. They tried to go, and they got it's like, they were ready to fight. And it says, so this is all the backstory of why Saul would say, I am a Benjamite. I'm the least of all the tribes. Well, why did he say that? Well, because the Benjamites almost got wiped out completely. Not just the Gibeonites, not just a little section of them, the Benjamites. And it says in verse 10, we will take 10 men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 of 10,000, to fetch victual for the people, that they may go when they come to Gibeah of Benjamin, according to all the folly that they have wrought in Israel. So the men of Israel were gathered against the city, knit together as one man. The tribes of Israel sent men through all the tribe of Benjamin, saying, what wickedness is this that is done among you? Now therefore deliver us, the men, the children of Belial, which are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death and put away evil from Israel. But the children of Benjamin would not hearken to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel. Okay, we're not going to deliver up the people. And in fact, verse 14 tells us, but the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together out of the cities unto Gibeah to go unto battle against the children of Israel. So you've got this scene setting up, and it's compounding, right? It started with some selfish, wicked men, and then the woman gets killed, and that needs to be taken care of and dealt with. But now it's not just everybody going after these men and a city. Now it's everybody against Benjamin, and Benjamin's gathering together. And it says there I'm at the bottom of the page, but in verse 15, the children of Benjamin were numbered at that time out of the cities 26,000 men that drew sword, beside the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. all of this people, there were 700 chosen men, left-handed. Everyone could sling stones at a hairbreadth and not miss. And not miss. A hairbreadth. Wow. I thought of this the other day. I had a single hair between my fingers, and I couldn't feel it as I rolled it through my finger. You know what? Sometimes if I get one of my wife's hairs in the laundry or something, it's long, and I put my shirt on or something, there's a hair somewhere. And I'm doing this whole thing. You ever done that thing? You're trying to grab it. Where is that thing? Okay, I finally got it. But a single hair, like I could feel a single hair, I guess, if I'm putting on my shirt out of the laundry. But I can't. I mean, that is a thin thing, and these guys, they were elite. They could sling stones at an hairbreadth and not miss. And the men of Israel, beside Benjamin, were numbered 400,000 men that drew sword. All these were men of war. So they have this big battle. They keep going at it. Judah is the first tribe. They go through here. Now, as you read through, there's a couple waves of this, but then in verse 35, then the Lord smote Benjamin before Israel, and the children of Israel destroyed the Benjamites that were 20 and 5,000 and 100 men. All these drew the sword. And it doesn't stop there. There's another 18,000 in verse 44. There's another 5,000 that get gleaned. Wow, isn't that descriptive? They're chasing these, and the Bible says in verse 45, they turned and fled toward the wilderness unto the rock of Rimmon, and they gleaned of them in the highways 5,000 men, and pursued hard after them to get them, and slew 2,000 men of them. So, wow, they're gleaning, they're killing, and then another 25,000 here, and just a bunch of men. Then afterwards, the guys get together in verse 1 of chapter 21. The men of Israel had sworn in Mizpah. This is where they all got together to decide to do something. They swore in Mizpah, there shall not any of us give his daughter unto Benjamin to wife. They just decide, nope, Benjamin's out. Cross those boys off the list of suitable marriage partners for our kids. But then they all feel bad. Look at verse 6. The children of Israel repented them for Benjamin their brother, and said, there is one tribe cut off from Israel this day. How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give of them our daughters to wives? Now this is an interesting narrative to me, because of the men that are left of Benjamin, what are we going to do for wives? They felt a keen responsibility for these men, but yet they're the ones that, well, maybe that's why. We just hunted down all these guys. We just slaughtered them. They're going to be cut off unless we supply wives. I mean, it's not going to be my daughter, but we need to get them wives, right? How are we going to do this? I mean, we can't go against what we've already committed. Yeah, you were there. You were at Mizpah too. Yeah, I was there too. Remember what we said? Not our daughters. What are we going to do? It seems just really interesting. So they decide to go down to the one place that didn't send men to the battle, and it says in verse 8, what one is there of the tribes of Israel that came not up to Mizpah to the Lord? And behold, there came none to the camp from Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For the people were numbered, and behold, there was none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead there. And the congregation sent thither 12,000 men of the valiantest, and commanded them, saying, go and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, and with the women and children. And this is the thing that ye shall do. Ye shall utterly destroy every male, and every woman that hath lain with man,
And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh-Gilead 400 young virgins that know no man by laying with any male, and they brought them to the camp of Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. Basically, they went and got 400 ladies, like, in order to take care of Benjamin. And then we find out that that wasn't quite sufficient in the very next verse. Benjamin came again at that time, and they gave them wives which they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh-Gilead. And yet so they sufficed them not. So, verse 15, and the people repented them for Benjamin, because that the Lord had made a breach of the tribes of Israel. And then the elders of the congregation said, how shall we do for wives of them which remain, seeing the women are destroyed out of Benjamin? It's like, well, we need to do something. It's kind of like that. You have this war, and in war, you destroy a bunch of things, and then there's reparations. And so what do we need to do? We need to give them women. And I don't understand how they could come to these conclusions that these were the best. But basically, summarized, there's a yearly feast in Shiloh, and they basically permitted the Benjamites, the men of Benjamin, to come up and to, if a young lady went out and danced at this yearly feast, they could go and steal the girls and choose your wife. And then they said, if anybody comes and complains to us, we'll just tell them, we know you swore not to give your daughters to Benjamin, but we had to figure something out. Boy, this was rough. No wonder the very end of Judges says, in those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. It really shows when you have narratives like that where they're just doing the best that they can come up with is going around and killing people and stealing their wives. Wow. Yeah, so it really exploded, and then they almost lost. So all that to say, they almost lost the tribe of Benjamin. That's why, back to 1 Samuel chapter 9, and in verse 21, that's why Saul answered, am not I a Benjamite of the smallest of the tribes of Israel? In other words, of all the people in Israel that you would choose, it doesn't make sense to Saul that God would choose a Benjamite. That's like the disgraced tribe, because of what happened and in Gibeah, because of how the rest of the Benjamites supported the wicked men of Belial in Gibeah. Not that they should have just given them up and killed them, or maybe they should have, I don't know, maybe there could have been some other adequate punishment, but they should have dealt with that. Instead they supported it, then they got wiped out, and then there's this whole remuneration, or how to get their reparations of wives back and all that. Anyway, there's just a big disgrace in the narrative of the children of Israel, to the point that Saul is really surprised. A Benjamite? I'm of the tribe of Benjamin, and not only that, my family is the smallest, is the least here of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin. I haven't done anything to deserve this. My family hasn't done anything to deserve this. My tribe hasn't done anything to deserve this. The question is, wherefore then speakest thou so to me? Why are you talking about me as if I'm the answer to everybody's preference and desire of Israel? Verse 22, and Samuel took Saul, his servant, and brought them into the parlor, and made them sit in the chiefest place among them that were bidden, which were about 30 persons. Samuel said unto the cook, Bring the portion which I gave thee, of which I said unto thee, Set it by thee. And the cook took up the shoulder, and that which was upon it, and set it before Saul. And Samuel said, Behold, that which is left, set it before thee, and eat. For unto this time hath it been kept for thee, since I said, I have invited the people. So Saul did eat with Samuel that day. When they were come down from the high place into the city, Samuel communed with Saul upon the top of the house. And they arose early. It came to pass about the spring of the day that Samuel called Saul to the top of the house, saying, Up, that I may send thee away. And Saul arose, and they went out, both of them, and he and Samuel abroad. As they were going down to the end of the city, Samuel said to Saul, Bid the servant pass on before us. And he passed on. But stand thou still a while, that I may show thee the word of God. Now in chapter 10, here we'll look at just a couple verses here. It says, Samuel took a vial of oil and poured it upon his head, and kissed him, and said, Is it not because the Lord hath anointed thee to be captain? Saul's going to be the captain. Saul is going to be the leader. The solution. Thank you. The God-chosen solution that the Lord hath chosen, and He's going to help him. Now, as we and we'll, Lord willing, we'll walk through a little bit more of Saul's life and some of the crucial events, and to look at some of the decisions and how Saul responded. And just to learn what we can, and through patience and comfort of the scriptures, we can have hope and we can learn. And sometimes I'm tempted really to make the, and we will look for this comparison. Sometimes I'm tempted to look at Saul and all of the negative that he did, and then look at David, and David as like the opposite, as like the hero. But we don't have all the details of their life. The Lord has given us what he wants us to know. When you look at Saul's beginning, he's very humble, and he is doing what the Lord wants. And then he kind of falls and trails off and gets into this pride, and gets into this jealousy, and goes after David. But flesh is always ugly, no matter if it's a King Saul kind of flesh or if it's a King David kind of flesh. And what I want to give you just a little glimpse of is we have to watch for this in all of our lives. You know, it's just horrible when we get to the point where Saul gets to the point where he tells you'll remember this, he tells his servants to kill his best servant, which is David. He tells his servants, I want you to kill David. And that's flesh, and that's nasty, and that's wrong, right? Well, later on, David does the same thing. He tells his servants to kill one of his best servants. So, you know, really, if we can learn a few things from these men and how they responded, we all need to daily submit ourselves to the Lord, and by His mercy, He'll help us to stay out of these common human problems of selfishness and of pride. And anybody can fall, even somebody that has been through that and really experienced all the negative side of it can then turn around and do the exact same thing. And so that's tragic, and that's wicked, and that's ugly. And the flesh in our lives is also wicked and ugly. And the Lord, may the Lord save us from that and continue His mercy on us. Okay, all right. So we'll pick up with the more of the study of Saul here next time. I've got some prayer sheets here. Okay, anything else that we can add here? Richard Kenyon had an unplanned surgery on Monday night, and it had I didn't get all the details. I'll catch up next time. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, pray for Richard. What was the surgery? Is it a sensitive thing? Okay. Yeah.
He's doing good tonight, other than the fact he's got a trach. He can't talk. They got his hands tied down, so he wants to pull it out. But they don't know if they'll be able to take the trach out. They may have to do some of the story afterwards if they want to keep going on eventually. So the next 2 days are pretty critical for him.
Yeah. Okay. So pray. Write his name down, Richard Kenyon. Say that again.
He has 25% of his heart use.
Oh wow. Okay. So pray for Richard. Yeah. Keep praying for him. The next few days will be real crucial for him. Okay. Good. All right, anything else we need to add to the list? Okay, well, let's spend some time in prayer.